Welcome to the deep dive. We take a stack of sources, pull out the key bits, and get you up to speed fast. Today, we're tackling a really, really big one. A deep dive into Persia, modern-day Iran.
Yeah, monumental's the right word.
And this isn't, just ancient history. We're talking about a civilization,
Right.
well, a major global power.
Since before Rome. Since the dawn of civilization, really. And its impact, you can still feel it today. It shapes politics in the Middle East, Eurasia.
Absolutely. For thousands of years, it's been this crossroads, hasn't it? Trade, learning, culture, all meeting right there between Europe and Asia.
Exactly. And what's truly amazing, I think, is its staying power, its durability. It got invaded countless times, conquered.
It always came back.
It always reemerged.
Yeah.
Powerful, distinct. It's quite remarkable.
So that's our mission today, really, to try and figure out, okay, where did this resilience come from? What are the unique factors behind Persia's enduring success?
Yeah, let's dig into it.
Let's start right at the beginning, the deep roots, prehistory, leading up to Elam.
Right, so the land we now call Iran, it has some of the earliest farming villages we know of.
Like really early.
Oh, yeah. We're talking Zagros Mountains, places like Chogogolan and Chogabonit, dating back to maybe 7200 BC. Just astonishing. And they were growing wild barley, lentils, legumes, standard early stuff.
And get this, archaeologists actually found a 7,000-year-old jar of wine there.
That's the one. It's at the University of Pennsylvania now.
Imagine tasting that. Incredible.
Well, it speaks to that deep connection with Mesopotamia, too, modern Iraq.
Yeah.
Around 4395 BC, maybe earlier, the Sumerian city Uruk stretched east and basically founded Susa.
And Susa becomes the capital of Elam, the first real nation in what becomes Persia.
Precisely. And Susa, it stayed a major economic hub for, wait for it, 5,500 years.
5,500 years.
Until the Mongols.
Until the Mongols finally destroyed it. That just tells you how important that location was.
Now, Elam wasn't quite a nation-state like we think of it today, was it? No, not really. It was probably more like a federation. Different peoples, tribes, mostly in the mountains. The Mesopotamians called them Elam, but they might have called themselves Halami.
Halamili.
Those are the high country, which makes sense. And this is really key. This kind of defines them. They were the mountain people.
Right, contrasting with the plain people down in Mesopotamia.
Exactly. The terrain up there, it's rugged. Not suited for that big irrigation-heavy farming you saw on the plains.
So their lifestyle was different.
Yeah. More semi-nomadic pastoralism, moving herds around, plus some small-scale farming where they could. It made them maybe fewer in number, but very tough, resilient.
And here's a fascinating thought. The Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, you could see it as just the latest round in this, 6,000-year struggle. Mountain people versus plain people.
It's a powerful historical echo, isn't it? It really resonates.
So what do we actually know about the Elamites, their daily lives?
Well, that's the tricky part. They're writing from around 3200 BC. It's mostly untranslatable. Still, the language is unique. Seems unrelated to anything else nearby. Though there's been some recent progress deciphering it, so maybe we'll learn more. Fingers crossed.
But we do have their art.
We do. And it's distinctive. Unlike the Sumerians or Egyptians with their human figures, Elamite art is full of animals. Dogs, bulls especially.
Interesting. What does that tell us?
Well, perhaps a different focus. Maybe a greater reverence for nature, for animals. Their religion seems to fit that polytheistic, focused on nature, a mother goddess. They often worshipped in high places, sacred groves.
And they were tolerant religiously?
Apparently so. They seem to have incorporated guides from their neighbors quite easily. And some of those practices, like the high places for worship, you see echoes of that later in Zoroastrianism.
What about society? Anything stand out?
Yes, definitely. The respect for women, it's quite remarkable for the time.
How so?
Their art shows women as equals. Queens depicted right alongside kings, seemingly with equal status. And that's a cultural thread that, maybe surprisingly, persists in later Persian societies too.
Wow. And trade, were they connected?
Oh, very much so. Finds in Susa show stuff from the Indus Valley, modern Pakistan, and from eastern Iran, Afghanistan. So active trade, sea and land.
Afghanistan. That's what it's important for.
Tin, crucial for making bronze. Elam probably traded that tin onwards, maybe to Mesopotamia or Egypt.
This early network, it's kind of the seed that eventually grows into the Silk Road.
With Persia right in the middle.
Always right in the middle.
Okay, so Elam is established, but then things changed. The Iranians arrived.
Right, around 2000 BC, you start getting these Iranian or Aryan nomadic groups moving in from the Eurasian steppes. Elamite power starts to fade.
But the culture didn't just disappear.
No, that's what's fascinating. It persisted. Even after Iranian groups took charge, the Elamite language was still used for administration.
So the newcomers were ruling, but maybe relying on the Elamite systems.
Seems likely. The Elamites probably had the more sophisticated legal and admin structures already in place.
And among these Iranians, the Medes rise up first. Yeah, the Medes. They start to band together under a leader named Darius around 727 BC. This is really the first proper Iranian empire, and it was largely a reaction, against the Assyrians.
Who were notoriously brutal.
Exactly. So the Medes push back. Darius is their grandson, Cyaxares, even allies with Babylon.
And they destroy Nineveh, the Assyrian capital.
They do. 612 BC, a huge turning point.
So by 700 BC, the whole region is basically Iranian peoples, Medes, Persians, Parthians.
The Medes built the first empire, but it was the Persians, under Cyrus the Great, who really took it to the next level, the Achaemenid Empire.
Cyrus. Okay, let's talk about him. He starts as a Median vassal.
Yeah, basically working for the Median king. But then he rebels in 553 BC, and from there he just explodes onto the scene. Conquers Babylon by 539 BC, parts of western India by 533.
And there's that mystery with the Median general, Harpagus.
Right. Harpagus is sent to crush Cyrus, but instead he switches sides. We still don't know exactly why or what Cyrus offered him, but Harpagus became one of Cyrus's top guys.
So what made Cyrus the Great? What was his genius?
Well, first, unification. He brought all these different Iranian groups together into a stable, well-run empire.
How did he manage that?
He set up a central admin with regional governors, satraps. But crucially, he had spies, the king's eyes, reporting directly back to him. Kept everyone honest, prevented corruption. It was brilliant.
Smart and efficient.
Very. 4 capitals, with Susa as the admin center. And this amazing post-system couriers, fresh horses, food, water every couple of days. It was so good it lasted almost unchanged for 1,500 years.
1,500 years? Even Thomas Jefferson apparently studied him.
He did, looking for inspiration for the Declaration of Independence. Second big thing, Cyrus the Liberator.
Ah, Babylon.
Exactly. He conquers Babylon in 539 BC and then does something completely unheard of. He lets the enslaved Israelites go home.
Which is why he's praised in the Hebrew Bible.
As a Messiah, the only non-Jew to get that title. It's extraordinary.
And
just his reputation. Respect for local cultures, religions. The Iranians called him father, the Babylonians called him liberator. Totally different from the usual conqueror model.
a different kind of rule. And fourth, militarily.
The Immortals, that elite 10,000-man unit, became the backbone of the Persian army for centuries.
So, summing up Cyrus, effective conqueror, built the biggest empire yet, but relatively humane about it.
Yeah, remarkably so for the time. Limited bloodshed, deliberately spared civilians, temples. His son Cambyses II kept expanding Phoenicia, Cyprus, Egypt, Nubia, Syria.
And this empire Cyrus founded, it's still the largest Iranian empire ever, right?
By land area, yes. His tomb's still there, UNESCO site.
In Persepolis.
It's just one of the world's great archaeological treasures.
After Cyrus and his son, we get Darius I.
Darius the Great, another major figure. He pushed the empire east to the Indus Valley, but he's probably most famous in the west for
Greece, the first invasion.
Right, 492 BC. Though it didn't go well for him. His fleet got wrecked by a storm, and the land campaign, it was actually quite small by Persian standards.
And ended at Marathon in 490 BC. Bad luck and maybe not enough troops.
Seems like it. He was planning a much bigger second go, but he died before he could launch it.
Leaving it to his son, Xerxes.
Xerxes, yeah.
Okay.
His campaign against Greece was, well, a mixed bag. He did burn Athens in 480 BC, but only after it was evacuated.
And then came Salamis.
The naval battle. A disaster for the Persians. The united Greek fleet crushed them. Xerxes got spooked, worried about being trapped, and retreated. Plus, he had a rebellion back in Babylon to deal with.
And the troops left behind.
Defeated at Plataea the next year, 479 BC. Xerxes himself was assassinated later in 465 BC. But even with these Greek setbacks, Persia was still a dominant world power for almost 2 more centuries.
Absolutely. And maybe we focus too much on the wars. Persia's ingenuity elsewhere was incredible. Engineering, for instance, water management.
Oh, definitely. Darius commissioned the Shushtar hydraulic system, an absolute marvel. It used river power for mills, irrigated huge areas of farmland, even created a waterfall.
But the Qanats, those are something else.
The Qanats are genius. They predate the Persians, but the Achaemenids expanded them massively. These underground canals tapped into aquifers.
Bringing water to farmland, but underground.
Exactly, which meant minimal evaporation, a steady flow regardless of rain, and they were safe from floods or being destroyed in wars. Incredibly sustainable.
But difficult to build, I imagine. That slope has to be perfect.
Immensely difficult. Precision work. And you see those lines of vertical shafts. That's how they built and maintained them. A unique signature on the landscape.
Amazing. And they had ancient refrigeration, too. Yakchals.
Yeah, these cool clay domes for storing ice year-round. Harvest ice in winter, keep food preserved. Very clever.
And culturally, instruments, games.
Well, Persians claim inventions like the tar, which is like an ancestor of the guitar, and backgammon, possibly the oldest board game still played. Chess is debated, maybe India, maybe Persia.
What about society? Slavery wasn't as big as in Greece or Rome?
Seems not.
Yeah.
Relatively minor role. But the really striking thing, again, is women's freedom.
Right, you mentioned that with Elam. It continued.
It really did. By ancient standards, remarkable. Owning land, running businesses, controlling money, traveling freely. Even aristocratic women riding horses, doing archery things usually just for men elsewhere.
Incredible. What couldn't they do?
Direct rule of the country seems to have been the main limitation.
Now, one of Persia's biggest legacies, Zoroastrianism.
Ah, yes. One of the world's first, maybe the first, major monotheistic religion, founded by Zoroaster, though exactly when is debated. 6th century BC. 10th century BC? We're not sure.
And the core belief.
This cosmic battle. A supreme god of good, Ahura Mazda, versus a god of evil, Angramenu. And crucially, humans have free will to choose sides.
Introduce a lot of concepts we see later, didn't it? Afterlife, angels, demons, heaven, hell.
Hugely influential. Historians see its impact on Judaism, Christianity, Islam, even Buddhism and Greek philosophy. Think of the 3 magi in the Bible. Magi were Zoroastrian priests.
What's unique philosophically?
This idea that the good God is all-knowing, omniscient, but not all-powerful, omnipotent. He needs humanity's help to win the battle.
It's interesting. And its connection to nature.
Very strong. Veneration of nature, protecting the elements. Fire and water are central to rituals. And this core concept, akerja, truth, righteousness, that's said to have inspired Cyrus's rule.
Even though he didn't force the religion on people.
Right. He ruled by its principles, perhaps, but didn't impose it. And it's still practiced today, by the way. Small communities, mainly in India and Iran.
So the Achaemenid Empire, overall, tolerant for its time.
Surprisingly so, yeah. Rebellions were crushed, sure, but local cultures, religions were generally respected. It was autocratic, definitely, but aimed for a kind of just, efficient system to improve life for ordinary people, with checks against corruption, too. A really impressive model, all things considered.
But even great empires face challenges. Enter Alexander.
Alexander the Great. Macedon. And ironically, apparently a big admirer of Cyrus since he was young, tutored by Aristotle himself, commanding armies at 16, king at 20.
His father, Philip, had unified Greece before being assassinated.
Just like Xerxes, yeah.
Yeah.
History rhymes. And Alexander started ruthlessly, executed rivals, crushed rebellions, like Thebes.
Ah, the example he made of Thebes.
Just destroyed a 1,000-year-old city, sold everyone into slavery, brutal but effective, stopped other Greek cities from getting ideas.
And then he turns towards Persia, 334 BC.
With about 50,000 men. And honestly, a big part of Alexander's swift success was Darius III.
The Persian emperor at the time, inept, you're saying?
Monumentally inept. Look at the Battle of Aetius, 333 BC. Persians had maybe double the troops, but attacked in a narrow pass, negating that advantage. And when things got tough, Darius fled.
The emperor just ran away?
First man off the field, apparently. Seeing that, the whole massive Persian army just collapsed. It was unprecedented.
Wow, so Alexander rolls on.
Yeah. Brutal sieges at Tyre and Gaza destroyed them, enslaved people. Alexander himself got wounded, but then Egypt surrendered.
And he founds Alexandria there, 331 BC, a center of learning.
Exactly. But Darius makes another stand, Gaugamela, 331 BC. Same story. Darius has the bigger army, better terrain, competent generals, and he flees again, before the battle is even clearly decided. After that, the Persian Empire just couldn't recover.
So Alexander's military genius is undeniable.
Absolutely. Incredible strategist, leader, used both diplomacy and terror effectively.
But the question is, was Persia already falling apart? Or was it just this collision, Darius III's incompetence versus Alexander's brilliance?
That's the debate. Some say Persia was divided, declining.
But they raised huge armies, twice. There weren't major rebellions weakening them beforehand. Local rulers didn't really defect to Alexander.
Right. It still looked like a functional, well-run empire on the surface.
So maybe it was just that perfect storm, a terrible leader meeting a once-in-a-generation military genius.
It's a very strong argument. It could well be that simple or that complex.
After Gaugamela, Persepolis is sacked.
Pillaged for days, then burned in 330 BC. Was it revenge for Athens? A drunken accident. Alexander supposedly regretted it later.
And after that, Alexander starts changing, adopting Persian customs.
Yeah, it's fascinating. He starts dressing Persian, encourages mass marriages between his Greek officers and Persian nobles.
Which didn't go down well with his own troops.
Caused huge tensions, clashes, arguments. Alexander became more volatile, even killed a close friend in a drunken argument. A real internal conflict, it seems.
And then he dies, suddenly.
323 BC, probably a fever, maybe malaria from a swamp. Poisoning was rumored, but likely illness.
And his famous last words about inheritance.
To the strongest, which basically guaranteed chaos.
Leading to the empire fracturing.
Into 4 main Hellenistic kingdoms. Greek influence spreads for the next 3 centuries. You get the Ptolemies in Egypt, Cleopatra was the last of them, and in Persia, the Seleucid Empire, named after one of his generals.
But Greek influence in Persia itself, it didn't last forever.
No, it slowly faded. There was this gradual return to Iranian ideas, Zoroastrianism, and eventually the Parthians rose up.
Another Iranian nomadic group.
Yep. They rebelled against the Seleucids under Mithridates I and took over.
And their ruling system was different, less autocratic.
Yeah, that's really interesting. More aristocratic. The nobles could actually vote to remove a bad king.
Without triggering a civil war.
Apparently. It gave them a kind of political stability that, the Greeks and later the Romans often lacked with their constant infighting.
And Parthia became Rome's big rival in the east.
Bitter rivals. Stopped Rome expanding further east, famous for their mounted archers.
The Parthian shot, firing backwards while retreating.
Exactly. They even defeated and killed Crassus, one of Rome's top generals, alongside Caesar and Pompey. A huge humiliation for Rome. And culturally, you saw this interesting blend of Greek and Iranian ideas, like the cult of Mithra becoming popular.
After the Parthians comes the Sasanian Empire.
224 AD, founded by an old Persian noble family from Cyrus's home region. This is the last big pagan Persian empire.
And they focused on restoring Iranian culture.
Very consciously. Made Zoroastrianism the state religion again, trying to really solidify that Persian identity, partly to differentiate themselves from the increasingly Christian Roman Empire.
So Hellenistic influence faded more.
Definitely weaker in the core lands, though still present on the fringes. They tolerated other religions generally, but Zoroastrianism was central, and they became the most dangerous rival to the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire.
And during their time, the Babylonian Talmud was compiled.
Yes, the Sasanians rule over important Jewish centers of learning. It was a culturally vibrant period.
And Manichaeism emerged then, too.
Right, the prophet Mani.
Yeah.
Tried to synthesize Zoroaster, Jesus, Buddha. It spread incredibly widely for a time, even though it faced repression.
What else characterized the Sasanians? More centralized, urban.
Yes, more so than the Parthians. Expanded trade routes, east, Silk Road, Indian Ocean, even exchanged artists, musicians, dancers with China.
And the Baghdad Battery? Did they invent electricity?
Well, they invented something. This clay pot, metal inside, that could generate a small electric current. What they used it for, we have absolutely no idea. Maybe electroplating. Maybe medical. It's a total mystery, but shows their inventiveness.
Okay, so Sasanian Persia is powerful, innovative, but then Islam rises in Arabia.
Right. And just as Muhammad is unifying the Arabs, the Sasanians and Byzantines are locked in this absolutely devastating, decades-long war.
Weakening both sides massively.
Critically weak. Plus, the Sasanians got hit by the plague of Shiro, killed maybe 30% of the population, Turkish invasions from the north, then internal civil war.
Right when the Arab-Muslim armies attacked.
Perfect storm. The Sasanian Empire collapsed incredibly quickly, fell in less than 10 years by 642 AD.
And the aftermath. Burning of texts, forced conversions.
There was destruction, yes. Zoroastrian texts were burned. There were conversions, but mass conversion actually took centuries. Non-Muslims had to pay a special tax, the jizya.
It's a complex relationship, Persia and Islam.
Deeply complex. Islam was imposed, no doubt. But Persian culture ended up profoundly shaping Islam, especially as it spread into Asia, influencing the Ottomans, for example.
So Islam changed Persia, but didn't erase its identity.
Not at all. Just like previous conquests, Persia adapted, absorbed, and maintained its uniqueness.
Under the caliphates that followed, Persian influence continued.
Absolutely. The Umayyad Caliphate adopted a lot of Persian admin and court style. Then the Abbasids, who came to power with Iranian help, integrated Persian culture even more deeply.
They founded Baghdad.
762 AD, near ancient Babylon.
Oh.
Baghdad became this glittering center of learning. First paper mill outside China, massive libraries preserving and copying Persian, Greek, Roman texts.
The Islamic Golden Age.
Driven largely by the Abbasids, yeah. An explosion of science, philosophy, medicine, building on all that previous knowledge, Egyptian, Persian, Greek, Roman, and mixing it with new ideas from across Eurasia.
Advances in math, astronomy, optics.
Algebra, chemistry, physics, medicine, just incredible progress. And interestingly, minorities, Zoroastrians, Christians, Jews who maybe weren't in political power, they thrived as doctors, scientists, engineers, huge contributions.
And literature like 1001 Nights comes from this era.
Exactly. Aladdin, Sinbad, Ali Baba, stories with Persian and Indian roots, compiled and expanded during this time.
But the Golden Age ends. The Seljuk Turks take control.
Right, another wave of nomads from the steppes. They take practical power from the Abbasids around 945, though the caliphs remain figureheads for a while.
And then the Mongols.
A whole different level of destruction.
Yeah.
Brutal. They swept through, destroying cities, libraries, culminating in the sack of Baghdad in 1258.
Which effectively ended the Golden Age.
Pretty much. Burning libraries, intellectuals killed or fled. And crucially, they destroyed the Khanates. Deliberately.
Yeah.
Turned huge areas of farmland back into desert for centuries.
Devastating, and it didn't stop there.
Nope. Just as things maybe started to recover under Mongol rule, bam. Black Death hits Iran around 1349, kills maybe 30% of the population.
And then Timur the Lame.
1381, one of the most brutal conquerors in all of history. Maybe killed 17 million people, 5% of the world's population then, built pyramids out of skulls.
Yet also a patron of the arts.
The paradox. Incredible brutality alongside sponsoring architecture, poetry. But this whole period, Mongols, plague, Timur, it just shattered Persia's unity like never before.
But true to form, resilience, Persia reemerges. The Safavids.
The Safavid Empire rises between 1501, 1511. Shah Ismail reunites Persia, creates an empire with borders pretty close to modern Iran.
And this period is key for Shia Islam.
Absolutely pivotal. The Safavids made Shia Islam the dominant faith, integrating Sufi mysticism and really deepening that theological split with the Sunni world that shapes the region today.
They were one of the gunpowder empires.
Yeah, along with the Ottomans in Turkey and the Mughals in India. Used cannons and muskets effectively to expand and consolidate power.
And their big rival was the Ottoman Empire.
Constant rivalry, which, interestingly, led the Safavids to seek allies in Europe.
Smart move, playing enemies off each other.
Exactly. Shah Abbas the Great traded heavily with the Dutch East India Company, allied with the Austrian Habsburgs against the Ottomans. He even got British help to modernize his army and kick the Portuguese out of Bahrain and Hormuz.
And Europe wanted Persian goods.
Oh, yeah. Persian carpets, silks, textiles were hugely prized. Living standards in Persia at the time were apparently pretty comparable to Europe.
But later Safavid rulers weren't as strong.
No, less competent, which opened the door for Russia and the Ottomans to start nibbling away at Iranian territory again. Russia took the Caucasus. Ottomans took other parts.
And Iran gets caught in the great game between Britain and Russia.
Tragically, yes, became a pawn. Even though there were internal pushes for democracy, like the Constitutional Revolution of 1905-1911.
Britain and Russia just carved it up.
The Anglo-Russian Convention of 1907 divided Iran into spheres of influence, just blatant imperialism, completely ignoring the Iranians, a real low point for Persian autonomy.
Then oil is discovered in 1908.
Which you'd think would help, but mostly fueled corruption, foreign interference. Didn't really benefit the people initially.
Leading to Reza Khan and the Pahlavi dynasty in 1921.
Right. Seized power with British backing. Authoritarian, nationalist, secular, militaristic. He pushed rapid modernization.
But the secular westernizing part caused friction.
Huge resentment. Changing clothing laws, pushing women's liberation. It clashed deeply with the traditional religious society.
World War II. Iran leans towards Germany.
Tempted, yeah. Which led to Britain and the Soviets invading and occupying the country to secure oil and supply lines.
And after the war, instability. The Mossadegh coup.
Very unstable. Culminating in 1953, the CIA and MI6 orchestrating the coup against Mossadegh after he nationalized the British-controlled oil industry.
So Western companies controlled Iranian oil again.
Pretty much, until the Shah took back control during the 1973 oil crisis. But that coup left a very bitter legacy.
Setting the stage for the 1979 Islamic Revolution.
Exactly. Overthrew the Shah, transformed the country into the Islamic Republic. A complete break.
Purging communists, cutting ties with the West, the hostage crisis.
All of that. Then just a year later, Saddam Hussein invades, starting the devastating Iran-Iraq War.
And today, Iran's influence.
Still hugely significant regionally: Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, and increasingly looking east, strengthening ties with China, Russia, joining groups like BRICS and the SKO. Still a major player.
It's just an incredible arc of history. Millennia, Persia, Iran. Undeniably one of the most dominant, powerful, and resilient civilizations.
That's the word. Resilience.
Yeah.
Always re-emerging, adapting, keeping that core identity.
And the contributions. Industry, engineering, law, women's rights, religion. It's staggering.
Absolutely integral to human history. Countless contributions.
Which leaves us with a big question, I think. Looking at this civilization that constantly reinvented itself, that shaped so much of the world, what does Persia's story tell us about resilience itself? About identity in a world that's always changing?
That's a deep one. What aspects of that long, long journey resonate most strongly with you listening right now? It's definitely something to think about.